Hello, everyone, and welcome to Protected Shoreland Permit Tips. My name is Eddie McKenna. I'm the Public Information Manager with the Land Resources Management Program of the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services. Our goal is to ensure your proposals are as complete as possible to reduce the risk of unnecessary delays. So we'll be going over some of the most commonly missing components in permit applications, as well as common areas of overlap between shoreland and septic systems, requirements associated with buying or selling developed shoreland property, and a couple of examples of situations where additional permits may or may not be needed. Let's get started with an overview of the shoreland permit by notification. It is possible your proposed project is eligible for a shoreland permit by notification. That would be the case if it meets one of the following criteria. Is it less than 1,500 square feet total impact? Does it propose no more than 900 square feet of net increase in impervious area? Is it a proposal about stormwater management improvement or erosion control or environmental restoration or enhancement? Does your proposed project involve maintenance or repair and improvement of public utilities, public roads, or public access facilities? Or last, does it involve geotechnical borings, test wells, drinking water wells, or remediations that meet requirements of the other relevant state statutes and rules? If so, it's eligible for this PBN, as they're called. For all other proposed projects within shoreland jurisdiction, with a couple of additional exemptions for agriculture or forestry, you need the standard shoreland permit application. For smaller projects, we really recommend assessing your wildlife first. It's an evaluation of the presence of any threatened or endangered species. So we strongly recommend that you use what's called the NHB data check, and that stands for Natural Heritage Bureau data check, before you apply with us. We also recommend you then consult with New Hampshire Fish and Game, if necessary, before starting a permitting process with us. If you get a negative result from your data check, just add that, what's referred to as a determination letter, to your permit application with us. If you get a positive result, also called a hit, then just please do follow the directions of your report. Contact the appropriate agency and have them review your proposal and just include their consultation and the report with your permit application to us. So why would you do this first before you apply for your shoreland or wetland permit? It is in your best interests and you may be required. Please note that Fish and Game also has no required timeline to complete reviews and make recommendations. And mitigation measures and design modifications may be necessary after their review. So their reply, as well as their timing, can change or delay a project significantly. Moving on from that recommendation or requirement, here are the most common missing areas from a shoreland application to make it complete. Your NHB data check, as we discussed. Photos of your proposed impact area. Photos of the woodland buffer. The waterfront buffer grid and point system, meaning trees and saplings, if that area is included in your proposed work site. And last but not least, certified mail receipt copies. Could be certificates or it could be copies of receipts, but you have to prove you notified abutters and the municipality, and where applicable, your local river or lake advisory committee by mail about your application and plan. This must be certified mail. Signed statements are insufficient. Again, the overwhelming majority of incomplete shoreland permit applications, which result in your proposal not being able to be approved or taking longer than you might have budgeted, are missing one or more of these items. In particular, again, if your application lacks a certified mail receipt, even if you've got a signature that says that they dropped it off, you will not get your permit or it will be delayed. These certified receipts are required by law, and that law does not allow for discretion. Moving on to septic systems in shoreland. If you'd like to propose one, or also if you'd like to apply for alteration of terrain or other excavation and dredging, you must include photos of any woodland buffer area in which those proposed impacts would occur. It is quite common for this to be missing from permit applications. And any deficiencies, including that one, can result in delays. Let's continue about septic systems in shoreland. There are various setback requirements depending on the distance from the reference line and the body of water. These are informed by the receiving soil characteristics and the United States Department of Agriculture's Natural Resource Conservation Service drainage classes. If you're adjacent to ponds, lakes, estuaries of the open ocean, at least 125 feet from the reference line where receiving soil down gradient is a porous sand and gravel material with a percolation rate equal to or faster than 2 minutes per inch. At least 100 feet from the reference line, soils with restrictive layers within 18 inches of natural soil surface. At least 75 feet for the reference line. This applies to all other soil conditions. Last, if you're adjacent to rivers, this applies if you're at least 75 feet from the reference line. One more important question sometimes asked. What if my lot is too small? Or what if I have a pre-existing septic system? The law says that you need to meet these setback requirements, quote, to the best of your ability. So in other words, just make the closest possible effort to meet these numbers if you have a pre-existing system, if your lot is too small. Let's move on to minimum lot requirements for residential development and protected shoreland. In summary, these rules exist, including for minimum lot sizes. They're governed by state statutes cited here, and they apply to shoreland septic systems. I'm not going to read those out loud, but these are the relevant state statutes that govern them. This final bullet, no lot having frontage on public water shall be created with less than 100 feet of shoreland frontage. That doesn't apply to non-waterfront lots, as it suggests. It's talking about frontage on public water. So anything that doesn't have frontage on public water, it doesn't apply. Let's talk about digging test pits. There are only two main restrictions to bear in mind. You want to avoid disturbing ground cover within 50 feet of the reference line, the water. You want to avoid digging test pits within 75 feet of the reference line unless you're evaluating eligibility for a replacement septic system. Now let's discuss selling developed waterfront property. Before any purchase and sale agreement for any developed waterfront property using a septic disposal system, the owners shall, at their expense, engage a permitted subsurface sewer or waste disposal system designer to perform an on-site assessment study. That site assessment study must be conducted when any part of the property is within 200 feet of the reference line, not just the structure or the septic system. Last, the seller must hire a permitted designer to determine if your site meets current septic standards. We, New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services, do not receive this study. You have to transfer the seller to the buyer as part of the purchase and sales agreement. Now let's get to a hypothetical question here. To install or repair a septic system, do I need a shoreland permit? The answer is it depends. Here's one example. Yes, if you have a new system or an expansion of use, then that's going to require a shoreland impact permit. Here's a no example. If you have an existing system and it failed and you can replace it in kind or under new approval and it serves no increase in sewerage loading, you do not require a shoreland impact permit. Let's discuss what really is a temporary impact area. That means an area impacted by regrading, excavation, or filling that temporarily exposes ground and underlying soils to stormwater. Some examples would include areas excavated or regraded to prep sites for new construction, excavation and regrading beyond the limits of a new foundation, areas associated with installing a temporary access way, areas associated with installing a new septic system. These are all examples of temporary impact areas. Here's another question. If I have a wetlands permit, do I need a shoreland permit? The answer is still it depends. Here's an example of when you do. Any impact not covered under wetlands permits would require a separate shoreland permit. So an example would be proposed impacts to access a beach. Whether they're temporary or permanent, they would require a separate shoreland permit. Alternatively, if you're careful with your equipment and you minimize impacts by avoiding disrupting soils and avoiding excavation or fill, you can avoid that shoreland permit. Here's a no example. You already have a wetlands permit. The impacts that it covers do not require a shoreland permit for that same impact. And an example of that would be constructing a beach within the protected shoreland. If that impact is covered under your wetlands permit, it does not require a separate shoreland permit. These are several, but far from all of our top tips for current and potential shoreland permit applicants. We want your proposals to go well. We want your projects to be as quick and affordable as possible, and we are here to help. If you have questions on these topics at any stage of your application or permit, please feel free to reach us. That can be for wetland or shoreland questions or subsurface or septic questions. You're welcome to email us or to call and ask for, respectively, the inspector of the day or the reviewer of the day. Or for open-ended general wetland questions, you can email LRM, meaning Land Resources Management, at des.nh.gov. Thanks very much for watching. We hope this has been helpful, and we wish you luck.